round of picks being picked up as well as Akali and now Zaya have been picked versus the Riven and Gragas of 8K Gaming. And of course, there's Rakan to follow it up, the classic bot lane duo.
Yep, and that's not too surprising. The Zyra Khan is not surprising, but I am a little bit surprised that it was actually able to be picked up by the side of Asura, being able to secure themselves three pretty strong picks. But there it is on the other side. It's going to be that Gragas matched with the Yasuo, so pretty prevalent two-man combo that we've seen a lot. I feel like that Riven is it's a bit interesting, especially to be picked so early on. But we'll see kind of how this game is going to progress and see, how effective that Riven is actually going to be.
Yeah, and I would imagine that the Riven just has to be a pure comfort pick in this situation. There's no reason to be first picking something that volatile without it being something that you were just absolutely comfortable playing on. Of course, now that we see that we do have the Gragas Yasuo combo picked on the other side versus the Zaya Rakan, that there will be some target bans coming out. Specifically, it looks like against the jungle by AK Gaming and against the support by Azura. So that's kind of to be expected with mixed matched picks coming out at the start of these picks and bans. And so we do have the Silas Hecarim banned away here, denying the jungles from Triarch as well as Braum Nami. A couple of good knockup supports that could be paired with this Yasuo, but instead, it looks like AK Gaming is going to be picking up the Malphite as well.
This is kind of forming into a very strange but very interesting team comp on the side of 8K Gaming. They're very fully committing to this Yasuo pick, giving it the Gragas and now the Malphite as well. A lot of different flexible picks all across that team, and honestly, I would say probably the Riven is the only thing that we could almost guaranteed lock into that top lane. And honestly, I'm not even sure if that's actually going to be true or not.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen Riven in places like the jungle, like the mid lane. Wouldn't expect to see it bot lane by any means necessary, but we've seen weirder things before. And so, D1 Nick, last person to lock in his champion, as we do have Sejuani and Kled picked up by the side of Azura Gaming. A couple of more standard, just really meta picks all around by the side of Azura. You have the Akali, who's a pretty safe, consistent mid laner. Has to be played by somebody who knows what they're doing at this point. But if they know what they're, if Corin the cat knows how to play Amina Kali, we can definitely say him pop off. But Sejuani, Zaya Rakan, Kled top, all heavily prioritized, heavy meta picks right now. Versus, which is a much more interesting team comp coming up outside of AK Gaming here. If anything, I would say this is quite cheese, if nothing else.
Yeah, and honestly, though, in this meta, going something this cheesy actually can work out really well, especially if you get the ball rolling early on. That's kind of how the team comps that are more cheesy are able to really snowball well throughout a game state. And we're getting this jungle Malphite again. It's going to be the same as I believe as we saw University of Wyoming pull out in our last cast before. So we'll see how Drops is able to play that champion to as much effect as we saw it before. But on the side of Asura, very standard team comp, very strong team comp from top to bottom. If they're able to just kind of hold out from any of this early game action that AK Gaming wants to sort of provide with its team comp, they can very easily run over these 5v5 fights if given an opportunity to actually scale.
I'm a little terrified for the side of Azura because with Cheese, there's a lot of opportunity to have surprise damage or surprise plays that the opponent is not prepared for. And in particular, we've seen the Pepega. Pepega is a legendary Malphite jungle as of last week, as he's changed his name back to Witchell, I do believe. And so Drops pulling out the Malphite jungle can be a terrifying champion to deal with and does a ridiculous amount of damage, but more on top of that, there's also the classic Yasuo Gragas combo that we've seen a couple of times, but not everyone is prepared to play against, as well as Shadowy Figure playing that Riven on the top lane is more of a niche pick for certain players, and so there's a lot of interesting things that Azura may not be prepared to play against in this game, which is where a lot of the threat of a cheese comp like this does come from. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and let the game speak for itself in just a couple of minutes as we wait out the rest of the spectator delay. Don't go anywhere, guys. We will have the game itself back in about a minute 30, so we'll be right back. We'll see you guys soon.
Yeah, and that's just kind of the nature of all of these different lanes. Every single one wants to be aggressive. Everyone wants to fight, especially up in this top lane between the Kled and the Riven. One misstep uh, for either of those on the top side will get immediately punished and probably have to blow their flash to be defensive. And I would definitely expect this Kled to just continue to sort of win this 1v1 isolated because of how strong of a lane he is.
Yeah, and there we see him. Actually, he's going to be dashing forward underneath Turo. He's been knocked off his mount. He got knocked up and he has to flash forward, but this is going to be Riven. Shadowy figure picking up the first blood in the top lane based off of a misplay on that turret dive, really, by Shockpool. A little over aggressive there and was not prepared for having to take the turret.
Yeah, it looked like he was expecting to maybe take one extra tower damage shot before going actually goes in again.
Okay, I guess that's the thing that he can just do. Teleports in, gets the kill, cleans it up super easy. Lost Scar, unfortunately, but a confirmed kill. He'll take this for free.
Yeah, that's a little bit strange actually from both of these top laners. I guess they're kind of even on their mental lapses right there. Kind of talking about it before again, as we're getting even more trading in this mid lane. I think that Shockpool expected that Kled dismount to actually go off one more turret shot, so he would be able to take two, and then the Bear Trap plus his W auto attacks would be able to kind of assist him in taking down Riven underneath the tower. But a nice stun and then a nice flash out of that combo, and then I wasn't really sure what Shadowy Figure was still doing up in the top lane when he was that low and saw Kled basically teleporting right on top of him. So I guess it is that 1-for-1 trade up in the top lane. Looks like the lane has equalized a little bit in CS as well.
Yeah, and again, we just see trading going on across the map. I wanted to note earlier that we had a CS differential on the top lane, but Shadowy Figure was able to clean that one up pretty well. And so we have a slight CS in favor of Xur Gaming pretty much in almost all lanes. Except for a little bit of evenness on the top side of the map, but that's kind of to be expected considering the range versus melee matchup we have going bot side. But with that being said, it means they have all the pressure, and that's why they've started up this Infernal Drake at just 6.5 minutes in. They know, AK Gaming knows they're there. Malphite does not have his ultimate available, so no unstoppable force to try and get in here to steal it, but he's going to be flashing over the wall, throws out the Q, does not get the smite, and that's going to be Xayah picking up the execute onto the dragon there and donating the kill over to Corrin the Cat on the Akali mid. And a little bit of an interesting play by our boy Drops there.
Yeah, not having that level 6 on the Malphite definitely takes down the amount of pressure you can have, even if you do have that Predator. And looks like he was just trying to go for that solo smite play, but I don't actually know if it was really worth it to be able to lose your flash and to die in that case without picking it up.
Shadowy Figure on the top side does not land the second part of his ultimate, but it does not matter because he simply has the auto attack trade advantage versus Shockpool, who does not have his mount, nor does he have his W available. So a second kill going over to Shadowy Figure on the top side of the map there.
Yeah, and that's pretty big, I would say, for this Riven, who, even though she missed the execute part of her wind slash, she was still able to win that 1v1 because the Kled was dismounted. And, you know, that's, like we were talking about, that's a matchup that can easily snowball in one way or the other. Looks like she is now, has that extra CDR for herself and slowly building that up. And once she gets up to that 40% CDR, she will actually have the tools to be able to fight evenly with this Kled with that ultimate. And looks like we are getting ourselves into a pause right now.
Yeah, Drops was saying earlier in the chat that he had a little bit of a weird lag spike there. I guess he's blaming that for why he didn't land the smite when he tried to flash the wall. But we are going to have a temporary pause here, so this gives us a chance to kind of sit back, take a look at the numbers of the game so far. It seems pretty even across the board. I would say a little bit of an advantage for Azura everywhere except the top lane, where it feels like Shadowy Figure is really starting to develop quite a lead on this Kled on the top side of the map.
Yeah, and just even looking at the CS numbers, even though the Kled is ahead by about 10 or so right now, that extra kill that the Riven does have now will basically equalize and maybe push her over a little bit. The only real deficit, I would say, is actually from the jungle. This Malphite, already 0-1-0, decided to actually rush Sork boots instead of just buying the boots for the Predator. So trying to get a little bit more out of it, but will kind of lose the jungle clear speed and survivability that you kind of get from that jungle item. versus the Sejuani, who now is up to that 52 CS. That's basically the largest CS gap in the game. Everywhere else has actually been pretty even so far and pretty quiet, other than those early trades down in the bot lane. So as long as this Yasuo and Gragas are able to kind of get to that 6 together and maybe look for some kind of a play, they definitely have the ability to actually go for a kill. Just depend on how the Xayah Rakan is kind of able to play around that.
Yeah, and now that we're starting to hit certain level spikes, especially in the bot lane. I mean, Malphite is level 6, Yasuo is now level 6 as well. Sejuani also hitting level 6. I'm expecting these team fights to become a lot more explosive and to see a lot more dynamic fighting going on, especially out of the side of AK Gaming, who have kind of this wombo combo team fight composition that they want to do because they don't have an AD carry, so they don't want to play, traditional style League of Legends where you lane phase for 10 to 15 minutes and then you start grouping for team fights. If anything, I expect them to start grouping and looking for these team fights as soon as possible. If Malphite were to rotate down the bot lane right here and just throw out a Hail Mary of an ult using his Predator, I would not be surprised because they want to try and get this Yasuo rolling now that he has access to the last breath. But as I'm saying that is going to be Kled going into the mid lane on the other side. Purple Ninja has to throw down the Equalizer, trying to buy himself some time, but he's going to be going down as Sejuani takes up the turret, is able to walk away with that, and Akali, Corrin the Cat, picking up his second kill of the game.
Yep, that was just a really nice coordinated dive right there to go after the Rumble that's just been kind of idly sitting by in this mid lane getting free farm against the Akali. But that will obviously be traded back for some power plays for the Riven to get herself some more gold. And that CS advantage is just completely flipped on its head up in the top lane from what we just saw before the pause. So just that one play, even though the Kled is able to help and pick up another assist, you will end up losing a little bit of gold from those trades as well.
Yeah, and as you were saying, just like that, 15 gold, 15 CS in advantage of the Riven player on the top side of the map, and also some turret platings, a couple of those being picked up, which means Shadowy Figure is now well and far ahead in the lead over Shockpool. But
oh, this could be interesting right here.
Ooh, this is going to be the double breath, last breath coming in there off of the Gragas ultimate. This combo that you're used to seeing so much. Yasuo has not found himself a kill just quite yet as Drops has used the ultimate, and no kills are actually going to be given over here as a flash heal from Xayah keeps her alive.
Wow, that is actually incredibly surprising that did not result in a death for either of these bot laners. They had a ward on that too, so they knew exactly where to throw that Gragas cask and everything. Johnny is now up on the top side.
Yeah, they knew everything that was going on there, but Sejuani on the top side of the map not going to be able to find something. Akali also looking to be far more aggressive, is 2-0 now, which means she does have a lead for herself. Shockpool, despite being down on CS, despite being down on 2 levels here, he's still looking to trade aggressively as he knows he has Treyarch in his back pocket here to help him out. And it looks like they're going to be starting up Rift Herald on the top side of the map as well by the side of Azura Gaming.
Yeah, I'm actually not, now that I think about it, I'm not really sure where Kali used his wind wall right there, because I feel like if he had used it to stop the Xayah Feathers from coming back, they would have been able to secure both of those kills, because the root from that was what kind of prevented it. Wow, actually very low, this Johnny from the Rift Herald having to flash away from the mere presence of the Malphite looking to go, and they might actually just kind of continue this right here.
Yeah, and it feels like this is going to be a donated Rift Herald coming out. Treyarch sticking around, trying to see if there's something he can do to help. He goes over the wall and throws out the Glacial Prison. It is going to be able to find his way onto Shadowy Figure, who drops down, kill given over to Shockpool. That is going to be yet another Bear Trap on a rope going down. That is going to be Charge coming out, and a second kill is picked up by Shockpool here. But now Purple Ninja trying to find a way onto the fight, taking a lot of damage from Corrin the Cat here. That is going to be another kill once again going over, and what we thought was a donation of the Rift Herald turns into 3 kills for the side of Azura Gaming, and they still get to pick up their Rift Herald.
Yeah, and that was pretty surprising that Treyarch was able to actually have a play in that right there, even with his ultimate over the wall. I thought for sure that the second that Shadowy Figure popped the ultimate on Riven, she was just gonna wind slash the second he went for any kind of play. So they were able to CC and actually chain stun her long enough, and then Malphite still didn't have his ultimate for that play, unable to just kind of do anything. And you can see without an ultimate that Malphite jungle really doesn't have much of a presence, just kind of ran around throughout the river and wasn't able to actually go for anything. So just kind of going in one at a time, not really quite able to play together using those team fight ultimates.
And I'm intrigued to see the fact that they decided to drop the Rift Herald so early on in the top side of the map. I mean, getting a couple of plating, sure, that's pretty important, but you still had another, minute and a half here in order to find a better opportunity to use that Rift Herald, maybe find an entire turret rather than just executing the Rift Herald into the top lane where Riven is there waiting to pick up the gold, waiting to kill it so that you can't get more than one charge out of it. But they got a little bit of extra gold on the side of Azura. They're sitting at about a 2,000 gold lead, actually 3,000 gold lead right now. Some of that coming from the Rift Herald turret plates they got, a lot of that coming out of the farming kills that they have, but Shadowy Figure getting jumped on by Corrin the Cat. Ultimate used by Akali here to try and get onto this Riven, but she's just gonna dash her way out of there as the side of AK Gaming has started up this dragon. It is being warded out. Will Triarch look to try and steal this? It looks like actually AK Gaming forced to back off there as they feel threatened. Shadowy Figure pops his ultimate in order to try and jump onto this Akali who just quickly dashes backwards.
Yeah, and this is kind of the point where you would expect 8K to actually win in these fights.
Oh, there's the Glacial Pusher, big toss up by Triarch though, so that is going to be second, getting in there with a grand entrance as long as that is going to be double kill coming out there. Corrin the Cat picking up a kill for himself, double kill for Sekoven there. Triarch diving underneath the turret, Purple Ninja trying to back off here, but he's dropped extremely low. Whew. Oh, that's going to be a flash forward from Shock Bullets, picks up a kill for himself. Corrin the Cat is not quite done. They want to try to pick up this ace, and he is going to be able to get that one. And that is a clean sweep by Azura Gaming, as they're not going to be the ones taking over this dragon. They have picked up a second Drake for themselves, and it looks like they're going to be able to pick up the second turret of this game as well on the bot side of the map.
Yeah, and 8K Gaming just not really using their team comp very effectively. I thought for sure that around this Mountain Dragon, around the next neutral objective where all 5 of them can actually group up and go for a play together, that would be where they can turn this game around. That's where they would actually have the opportunity to make a play, but just very scattered and not very coordinated against this team was quickly punished by the side of Azura Gaming. And you could see it right there, getting that ace pretty handily and getting the Mountain Dragon to boot.
Yeah, and it seems like this is another case of whichever team composition gets their engage off first is going to be the team comp that wins it. We saw there that Sejuani was able to get the Glacial Prison off first, and because of that, they were able to pick up the first kill of the team fight. They could re-engage using Rakan's Grand Entrance and the Swiftness, and from there they just really ran through that team fight, and there was nothing that 8K Gaming could do about it. Your Yasuo died very early on, your Malphite didn't have an opportunity to get a good unstoppable force, and because of that, they just lost the team fight from the very start of it. And so what we need to be looking out of 8K Gaming here is for them to find an opportunity to make the start of the play themselves rather than waiting for Azura to try and start the engage and then reversing it back on them.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, kind of looking at their champ select right now, the way that Azura wins these 5v5 fights and the way that they're going to actually have a really good survivability is with this Xayah pick. She has that natural ability to actually dodge out the majority of the CC wombo that 8K Gaming wants to throw, and if she's able to stay alive and output a lot of damage with that lethal tempo, you'll definitely see just a ton of team fight potential, but it's like they're actually going for another play down
here. Going on top lane, that is going to be an excellent on top of force coming up from drops there. He has to cancel the charge, and that is going to be immediately Shockpool goes down, but a response in the mid lane. Sekoven comes in and is able to pick up yet another kill for himself based off of the Glacial Push from Triarch, and they're going to be picking up the third turret and the last outer turret of this game, which means there's now free access for ward coverage available to Azura Gaming as they get an excellent response and even extra to 8K Gaming's play there. Looks like they're not quite done just yet. They're trying to pick up the second turret. That is going to be the inner mid lane turret going down. Triarch might be looking to go aggressive onto Kali here, but is not going to be able to find anything. And now instead, Azura picking up 2 turrets for themselves is going to back off.
Yeah, and you could tell that it looked like Kali wanted to actually go for a flank play right there, having the Gragas throw out the cask and then getting a multi-mana ultimate off, but because Riven was not there, because the Malphite didn't have ult, and Rumble had just previously died from that dive in the mid lane, there was just no follow-up damage. There was no real ability for them to make some kind of a play when arguably you could say that Azura was a little bit overextended.
Yeah, and I think they would have felt more comfortable with that play if they had drops available with the Unstoppable Force or Purple Ninja for follow-up with the Equalizer, but unfortunately the Rumble was dead. The Malphite had just used his ultimate on the bot side of the map, and because of that, they didn't think that they had enough follow-up damage available or a strong enough of an engage available, either case, in order to be able to take that fight there. One thing that I will say 8K Gaming is lacking in this team composition, and we mentioned it earlier, is any kind of real frontline tank. You have the Malphite, sure, who can be a tank, but when he runs in the jungle using Predator like this, you have to expect he's going full AP. He's already picked up the AP jungle item, as well as a stopwatch for himself, which is going to entail Azanya's. But again, we see another Unstoppable Force used to stop the charge coming out from Shockpool here, and he's going to get jumped up, and once again, the kill being given over to Shadowy Figure, as this Clyde is struggling to run away from the Malphite ultimate time and time again.
Yeah, and that's definitely a big credit to Shadowy Figure and how he's positioning that flash on the third knockup from the Riven right there to be able to get in front of him, and then never quite able to let Shockpool get past him. That's why that ultimate continuously gets hit and like doesn't let him go anywhere. And then as soon as the Unstoppable from the Kled charge is down, Malphite can just ult on top of him. Very easy kill to set up in the side lane, but until 8K Gaming really does something with this Riven and goes for some kind of a play, she's really all their gold. That's where all of the investment has actually gone onto this team. And if she's not strong enough to go to the backline, who is significantly ahead for the side of Asura, this team fight is just going to kind of fall flat as soon as they try to fight one.
Yeah, a couple of things we've noticed so far. I mean, Shadowy Figure has had his run-in with Corrin the Cat, and Corrin the Cat has been beating Shadowy Figure consistently in those fights. It looks like this Riven is afraid to take up 1v1 versus the Akali, which is understandable due to just how strong the dueling potential from an Akali is. But if the most fed member on your team is afraid to jump onto the backline of the enemy team, you're going to be forfeiting a lot of gold, a lot of team fights, and a lot of objectives, because that means that you are afraid to take those fights. And when you're afraid to take the fights, you just have to kind of give over whatever you want to the opposing team, which means Azura picks up yet another dragon for themselves here, as Riven and Malphite had just shown on the top side, so they're able to pick up an Ocean Drake, which means they are now 3 dragons to 0. And they can continue to go back to pushing out these waves, looking for these turret plays, as Riven is once again on the top side of the map, looking to just kind of split push, get whatever gold she can without having to fight the Fed Akali.
Yeah, and actually she does have that Maw built right now, so a little bit of extra resistances to try to match in case she does have to play against the Akali in the side lane here. Baron is up in about 30 seconds or so once we get ourselves out of the pause. And that's definitely going to be the biggest focus for Asura. That's how they will continue to snowball and end this game through their side lane play that they've definitely demonstrated to have some strengths in, other than those extra deaths that the Malphite has caused. That's where they're forcing that jungle to actually come out and do something, and then punishing on the opposite side of the map. So I would definitely not be surprised to see a similar strategy with this Akali down in the bot lane when she has TP to force the Malphite to come down to bot lane, because there's no way that the Akali cannot be 1v1.
And as we were saying, the 1v1, Corrin the Cat going in immediately onto Purple Ninja there. He's going to be picking up the kill quick, swift, and easy for himself. Equalizer drop, but is not going to be doing a whole lot of damage versus the Akali, who now finally is forced to drop the Shroud. But that entire 1v1 for Corrin the Cat was done without the use of the Shroud, just so ridiculously strong that he doesn't need to even play around with one of the key mechanics of his entire kit. Able to pick up a kill on the Purple Ninja, and because Malphite is shot on the bot side, that is going to be Baron started up by Azura. Shadowy Figure sees this one out, charge used, but that is going to be the swiftness into the Grand Entrance used to get onto Shadowy Figure. He is forced to use all of his dash to try and get out of there, but Shockpool flashes forward, is able to get the pullback, and that is Shadowy Figure falling down 40 seconds on the 5-4. All the Riven, all the kills for 8K Gaming now in the gray screen as Triarch gashes over the wall into D1 Nick. They're not quite done with this fight. Excellent wind wall blocks all those fillers, but that's still going to be the flash used out in order to try and disengage this fight. Akali finds his way onto drops, and he's going to get knocked up. Corrin the Cat still using that Shroud and is not going to be taking any damages once again. 6 kills for this Akali, and right back to the Baron for Azura Gaming.
Yep, and Asura did exactly what I said. They used the Akali in the bot lane, draw out the Malphite, and then as soon as he shows, just go to Baron. And because they're so much stronger, they're so much further ahead, almost 9k gold ahead at this point, they're just able to kind of run all over 8K Gaming and say, what are you going to do about it? There's nothing they really can do because they're never able to get a coordinated engage off first.
Purple Ninja stepping too far forward here, was trying to look for the Baron steal. He's just going to be giving over another kill. Godlike forecourt in the cat. 0 and 6 for Purple Ninja here. That's going to feel so rough for him. But on the top side, Shockpool still trying to take fights versus Shadowy Figures. This time he gets the better half of that trade. But it looks like the entire side of AK Gaming is done with Shockpool. That is going to be double ultimates used. There's no getting out of this. And that's going to be Kali picking up his first kill of the game, and the first kill on anyone besides this Riven.
And that's actually not a bad play to go for. Everyone else on the side of Asura had actually reset and gone back to base with that Baron. So you do technically take away one of the Baron split pushers on the side of Asura, which will probably help him out in the short term, but that's a lot of resources being used right there, the Malphite and the Yasuo, and just a lot of the extra abilities associated with those two. Just try to get an extra kill. And yeah, Kled has kind of been the recipient of all of this attention right now, but definitely not really letting it affect him or the rest of his team.
Yeah, and when you're playing this Kled, it feels really bad to die that often, sure, but you look at the rest of your team. You got a 2-0-12 Sejuani, a 7-0-3 Akali in the mid lane, and your AD carry is also sitting on 3-0-2. 3 members and 2 of your carries on your team are sitting at deathless score lines right now. So, yes, it feels bad to die that many times, but you kind of accept it and take the fact and say, you know what, that's fine. This Akali will carry this game. My Xayah is doing strong right now. She'll help back me up. So he's okay absorbing so much pressure for the rest of his team here, as now we see that he's going in once more, using that charge to try and find a fight. But it looks like he's not going to land anything. Shadowy Figure is caught off, though. This Riven is able to get over the wall, but Corrin the Cat can follow. That is the Hex that Gunblade used. Excellent Glacial Prison there to lock up this Riven. But he's going to be able to dash his way over the wall once again. There's just too much follow-up coming out from Asura Gaming. So they're able to pick up the kill onto this Riven. Shockpool, though, left alone. As he's actually going to be taking the 1v1 onto Kali. And it looks like he might be able to win it with the help of Triarch there. Now, Yasuo and Riven down, your 2 carry members. That is the drops going in with the Unstoppable Force there. He's able to pick up a kill for himself onto Shockpool, but he's left all alone as he's going to be picked up by Triarch. Now it's 4-0 for the Sejuani, and still deathless for those 3 members of Asura Gaming we were saying before. Purple Ninja uses the equalizer, but he's going to get immediately jumped on by Second there, who picks up a kill for himself. That is going to be the inhibitor turret going down. And this 4-man team comp coming out from Asura, despite not having Shockpool there, is just so ridiculously ahead that there's nothing AK Gaming could do to stop them, as they are now going to be rotating over to the mid lane inhibitor turret and trying to pick up that one as well. Shadowy Figure, though, not done with this fight, is able to pick up a kill onto Second. Looks like Skevin is able to back out of that one as well.
Yeah, so a lot of stuff going on right there. Kind of
a lot of stuff.
But the main point of that entire play right there is just, yet again, 8K Gaming can't really do anything with their team comp. They're not putting themselves in a position to actually use the strengths. That was kind of, honestly, I don't know if it was intentional or not to cut off the Riven on the side. It looked like they were just trying to get some Malphite, but probably one of the luckiest unintentional charges right there to actually get in a good position to flank out the Riven.
Absolutely.
And you could definitely tell that 8K wanted to kind of consolidate. They wanted to group up under those towers in the mid lane and to just kind of go for one all-out fight and one last-ditch effort. They definitely had the damage and the abilities to go for something, I would say, but because Riven was cut off and was unable to really join the fight, and everything was just so disjointed, they lost the Yasuo soon after when they went for the charge up by the Krugs. And there's just never an actual 5v5 that they're going for where they are starting on their own terms and they can find any kind of opportunity. And that's just been the difference between the 2 teams.
Yeah, and in particular, I want to speak about this Yasuo, who's now sitting on the IE static shift. He has his 100% crit chance. He has hit his power spike, and he's sitting at 1-2-1 with very little kill participation because they are just not getting off the combos that they need. You drafted the Malphite Gragas in order to help your Yasuo get in with the last breath onto this backline, and it's such a scary combination that you can run, but they just haven't ever used it the way it's intended to be used with this combination. We see once again Shockpool trying to go forward with the charge, but does not find his way onto Purple Ninja. So, no Clan ultimate for about a minute. This Baron buff has worn out, so Azura's gonna have to do this siege all natural route.
Yep, and AK Gaming has to go for something here, I think. Now that the Baron is down, it's probably their best opportunity to look for something. But the Xayah still has Featherstorm and Flash, so I don't expect her to actually get hit by this Malphite ultimate, which needs to happen for 8K to really pull something off here.
Looks like they're just doing a little bit of a back and forth siege, still continuing by Azura. So we're gonna have to see when they're gonna be able to pull the trigger on either AK Gaming or Azura's side. Triarch looking to go for Glacial Prison, I'm sure. Windwall is down now. He's gonna want to go for the opportunity. There's gonna be the flash on Stumble Forces. Immediately Xayah's blown up there, but an excellent disengage by secondaries. He's able to get a bunch of damage down. The equalizer is huge. Triarch gets dropped extremely low. Flash over the wall by Kali there. He's able to pick up a second kill for himself. And just like that, 8K Gaming puts himself on the board. Flash forward by, or not flash forward, but a dash forward by Shadowy Figure finds his way onto Akali. He's not able to pick up anything for himself. Bear Trap on the rope is going to do a little bit of damage. It looks like 8K Gaming wants to continue, but they're not able to find anything else as they have to respond to the super minions in their base.
Yep, and that actually Nexus Tower goes down at the extended play of that fight right there. So while they do get a couple of kills and they do kind of get themselves to shut down.
Oh, Shadowy Figures, not like this. This is how you go down. Charges, use Akali goes forward. Corin the Cat is left there. Picks up yet another kill for himself. Looks like he's not quite done. He has to throw down the smoke field. Corin himself alive there. Finally gets his evac so he can dash over the wall to safety, but a little bit of a play of vision there by the side of Azura so they can pick up a response kill on the Shadowy Figure.
Yep, but again, 8K Gaming did what they technically needed to do and they didn't lose too much off of it. That Nexus Tower probably could have been prevented with a little bit better wave management ahead of time, but at this point in the game, they kind of just have to go for whatever, and as long as they don't lose their Nexus on the other side of the map, it's probably not too bad. They don't even lose the inhib down in the bot lane, even though it was being split pushed as well. Baron is on the table yet again, and this is kind of where I expect Asura to really dominate in any kind of fight that they want. Have pretty good board coverage actually already.
T1 Nick getting jumped on by Shockwolf. He's going to be going down. Actually, a second there. He's going to be picking up his fourth kill of the game. Triarch dashing forward, drops us out all alone. He has to use the Unstoppable Force to go over the wall. That is not what you want out of your full AP Malphite. And he is still going to be getting chased down. They found the jungler. They want to try and kill him so that he does not, so that AK Gaming does not have their smite available for this Baron, but they're just going to start this one up right away. They know that the Gragas is down. There is no Unstoppable Force on this Malphite, and they are so ridiculously far ahead that they don't have to worry about the jungler here, because they're just going to be able to pick this one up for free. Glacial Prison misses. Corin the Cat goes forward there. He finds the Hexagon Blade. That is Purple Ninja going down once again. 0 and 8 has got to be such a bad feeling, but Corin the Cat is going to be continuing this one onto Kali. He still has the ultimate available, and that's going to be the execute onto the Yasuo. They're going to be able to pick up their first inhibitor this time around, as the top inhibitor has responded, rotating towards that top side, picking up a second inhibitor as Riven bot lane this entire time, forced to use the teleport to get back into it. They're going to be rotating down, trying to pick up the third and final inhibitor so they can get these double super minion waves, start barreling into the base. They have the Baron buff. They have a minion wave in the mid wave. They have picked up that last inhibitor, which means it is a final stand for the side of AK Gaming. They go in. That is the Unstoppable Force used. Not a whole lot of damage to put down as Akali's able to pick up the first kill of this fight. Xayah is picking up another kill onto the Gragas. The Shadowy Figure is trying to get on Shockwolf, but is not able to pick that one up himself. And that's going to be only Purple Ninja left alive. They're going to be using all their flashes, all their dashes, everything they can to pick up that kill. Ace coming out. That is going to be Kali doing his best, but it is not going to be enough as the Nexus turret falls and Azura picks up the first win of this cross-group play.
Yep, top seed of both groups goes over to Asura right there. And even though you could argue that 8K Gaming's team comp wasn't, optimal in the sense, it definitely had the tools to actually win if used correctly. And it just felt like they were not really coordinated enough to kind of match how Asura was playing. Very standard on the side of Asura and kind of what we would actually expect to see from that team comp, and very good on them to actually be able to execute on the plays that they were trying to make across the map.
Yeah, and with that, we can take a quick look at the damage charts. We see Akali leading it by a long shot, about 4,000 damage up on anyone else. To be expected, Kuro the Cat doing an amazing job that game, definitely carrying his team on his back, sitting at 13-0-6. This man had a phenomenal game. But with that, we're going to go ahead and throw it over to a quick break as we have another game coming up for you guys. This time, I believe it is the 5th seed from both teams that is going to be playing. So, don't go anywhere, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back in just a few minutes with yet another game of our Week 3 cross group play action. We'll see you guys soon.
would you dive with me? Tell me would you dive with me? Tell me would you dive with me?
despite their tags. Give me 1 second. My name is Loud Thoughts. I'm joined by Obongo. We'll go ahead and switch up these tags for you guys real quick. But hopping straight into pick'em bands, go ahead and break down what the bands are for me so far, Obongo.
Yep, we have the Kane, Hecarim, and Morgana on the side of University of Wyoming, and for CSU we have that Malphite, Fiddlesticks, and the Caitlyn. Those Malphite and Fiddle both being targeted bans towards Witchell, which we have already seen. Has played that Malphite a very scary amount, just of confidence and strength. And then that Fiddlesticks, like you told me last week, is also a target ban towards him. And so, lots of priority against Witchell so far in this jungle.
Yeah, and something I've noticed is that when Witchell gets his comfort picked, he almost always wins. And I think that's something that's pretty standard to say for just about any team. Unfortunately, we didn't see it in the last game, Shadowy Figure picking up his Riven, who he's very comfortable on. But, it's not always going to be a guarantee. It just means that it's going to be harder to play against. We did see Shadowy Figure have quite a large lead for himself, and how you're able to bring that to the rest of the team is very important in and of itself. Unfortunately, it's not so in the last game, but this time around, it looks like Witchell's not going to be getting any of his comfort picks as he has been targeted, banned out. That being said, Xayah being picked up first pick by the side of the University of Wyoming, and surprisingly, no Rakan picked up by the CSU Rams here, instead opting towards the Sejuani and Kai'Sa.
Yep, and just kind of interesting pick ban. We'll see what they're going to third pick right here for themselves after the Nautilus. But I kind of like the idea of what CSU is doing right now. There's a total of 4 potential jungle bans out on the table, and then they basically grab the next best jungler out there. That's Sejuani. It looks like Olaf is going to be the choice for Witchell this game, so we'll see what he wants to do piloting that champion. Not too bad of a matchup into the Sejuani once they both hit level 6. Very easy to just kind of run over her with that Ragnarok CC immunity. But I think that actually the key thing is taking that Nautilus away from the Kai'Sa, which is usually a pretty good 2v2 lane in the bot lane. And very interesting is that Janna pick up for 245.
I do not believe that Janna is going to stick around. I 100% believe that is a panic pick, and that the captains are currently messing with each other, and they'll probably remake this. If the Janna does go through, interesting pick, yes. But I don't think that that's an actual Janna pick. But as you're mentioning, yeah, the Nautilus pick I think was really huge as a pickup, because originally I was confused on why they did not pick up the Rakan on the side of CSU Rams. And you would assume that University of Wyoming would pick up the Rakan first rotation, because yeah, it's a free lovers duo combo in the bot lane. But by seeing the Kai'Sa pick, taking away the Nautilus is a bigger deal here, because Nautilus is a natural counter into the Rakan, because as soon as Rakan goes in for his combo for engage, Nautilus just locks him down using the auto attack, and so it doesn't allow this Rakan to run free using the quickness to kind of run through the entire team, charming everybody. Nautilus shuts that down real quick, and is really good at denying the engage out of the Rakan, and more importantly, denying the passive stacks out of the Kai'Sa, who also pairs well with this Nautilus. And so a huge pickup by the sides of University of Wyoming there, as the Sylas and Anivia are being banned out by the CSU Rams. Syndra being the first ban, the final ban just a couple of seconds away here on the side of University of Wyoming. We'll see what it is. And it looks like they are going to be taking away the Poppy.
Want me to wait while you
Couple
go
of
get them?
interesting second rotation bans, if you ask me.
Yeah, but it seems more like just focusing on the champions that they don't really want to have to play against. The Akali, I'm surprised, has made it through this far into the draft and even through that second ban phase, because I feel like she should be extremely high priority for both of these teams just because of how strong and how prevalent she is. So definitely makes sense getting rid of that Sylas and the Anivia. Both of them pretty difficult lanes, I would say, for the Akali to play against in the mid lane. We'll see what University of Wyoming kind of wants to counter. Is going to be a Zilean pick, something we don't normally see very often, but I feel like whenever I do see it, usually is used pretty great success, especially against something like an Akali, which has very telegraphed execution patterns on her assassination.
Yeah, and I remember from the last couple of seasons of Optimal League that Papa Francesco does enjoy his Zilean in the mid lane, so that's where I'm expecting this to go. It is something that he is quite comfortable on.
Oh.
Oh, lordy Lou. We have an Ivern, ladies and gentlemen. This is gonna be ah which is the lie, the Ivern or the Janna?
I
Or
don't think
neither.
either of them are. I actually think neither of them are, and I think that this is a pretty good. This is actually a pretty good draft by Wyoming. To be completely like, I sound very sarcastic when I say that, but I genuinely think that this is a really good draft. You have a really strong 2v2 in that Zaya Nautilus. Zaya does not need Rakan to be a strong AD carry in this meta right now. She
No,
is
not at all.
definitely up there, just in terms of that strength, and pairing it with something that can easily set up her root in the 2v2, especially against something as squishy as this Janna. Definitely will be pretty good for the 2v2. You have Ivern, who sort of in his heyday when he was super popular was always paired with something that was very hyper carry. He's very focused on being this support type jungler. You have the Zillion, very clearly a support, more support style mid laner. The 2v2 between Ivern and Zillion is probably one of the worst you could actually think of, to be honest, of 2v2s in the mid and jungle position. So I fully expect the Akali and Sejuani to be able to dictate any kind of skirmishes or fights that they actually want to take around that, around like any kind of neutral objectives or scuttled crabs or anything like that.
I
Um,
I
but
am just so confused at these compositions so far. I mean, Witchell, I have to give the award for King of Cheese in Optimal League because he already got target banned with his Malphite and his Fiddlesticks, and now he pulls out the Ivern, the Forest Father, and so I don't know what to expect out of these two teams here, but yeah, as you were saying, the mid lane priority coming out from University of Wyoming is going to be absolutely non-existent versus the Akali Sejuani. Um, but I'm interested to see how this bot lane pairs out with the Kaisa Janna. Any ideas?
um, I personally believe that the Zaya Nautilus should pretty hard win if it comes down to just like a pure 2v2. I I don't think that Jenna Tornado can it might does it interrupt Nautilus when he gets pulled into somebody, or does that I feel like that's something that would still go through even through a tornado, but I'm
I
not
think
sure
it
how
can
that
be
interaction
canceled.
goes.
I think the tornado
Okay.
can cancel it, but it's very
So
difficult to
then
do.
yeah, so then okay, so this is kind of so the Janna matchup into Nautilus then would be similar to Janna into Alistar, where you wouldn't necessarily think that Janna should actually win that matchup, but this is all going to be on 245 in the 2v2. If he's able to actually interrupt Nautilus's hook combo with Tornado like consistently, I do actually think that Kaisa has a chance of surviving in this lane. Even with that, I still don't actually think that they're like durable enough to deal with something like the Nautilus, especially very early on. My main concern with Wyoming's team comp actually doesn't come from their bot lane, it comes from the top side of the map. Even though I was praising them for drafting this very supportive style team comp to kind of support a hyper carry in this Zaya who's really good at scaling, they don't have any damage on the top side of the map that's actually going to be consistent. Olaf is a very